Welcome everyone to another episode of Iron Age Marketing. I am Nicky P here as always. My guest today is AC Pritchard. How are we doing there, AC?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I get to talk to people who make comics, and that's always fun.
I'd imagine.
So we're having you on today to talk about a book that you're releasing with a friend of ours, Luke Stone. Anything Luke does, I know I'm going to like, so I'm excited about it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that book and kind of how you two decided to collaborate on this?
Well, the book is called A Saga of Sunsets. It's 72 pages, just fully loaded, full color, defined beginning and end to the story. Like it's all in one package, like anything you could ask for. Just if you, as a lover of stories or fantasy or even history, because there is some like real history influence in there, and I'll get to that. But essentially, the story started off as a prompt. It was inspired by a prompt on on ironage.media, or Anvil magazine, whichever you want to look at it. The website. He posts weekly prompts, and there was one that really stuck out to me. I think it was the Zeppelin or the airship or something like that. It was the technical term for like a medieval airship, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I brainstormed a way Vikings could do that, actually scientifically. And the answer is fermentation, because you can get hydrogen with that. All you got to do is separate it. I could go down that rabbit hole too. I figured all that out. But yeah, once I had the concept, I was like, the story ran away with me, because me and my wife and son recently visited the Kensington Runestone Museum in Alexandria, Minnesota. And they have all the scale models of like the Viking longships and stuff, and oh, it was so fascinating. They got the rune stone there. You can see it with your own eyes. It's just a beautiful thing. The story translated and all that. So I looked at the translation of the story, and my imagination started going wild. And the thing wrote itself, right? Yeah, yeah. And since it was the plot kind of wrote itself, I placed it in the same world as my novel that I have in editing right now, 150,000 word novel. So um, all the world building was there because of that, and yeah, just fired off a nice 10,000 word short story. Published it for free at first, and then yanked it down and included it as part of a short story collection for my Amazon book, which for indies out there, I feel compelled to say this because of personal experience. Indies should know that it is free to publish on Amazon, and there's free software. You can do it all for free, right? So you just have a Word document. You get the free software, which Amazon has right there on their website. You can format it all for free, publish it for free, and start earning a little bit of profit one way or another, even if it's slow, right? But this little trickle, I decided I'm not touching it, since it's a little trickle. Like, what's a little bit of money here and there from a new author going to do, as far as like paying bills and stuff? Maybe gas money, a little food, sure, which helps. But I decided to just redirect it all into the book itself, because of my experience with my band, over a decade in music. I know that it is just good business practice to recirculate profits into a business, and that helps it grow. So I did that with my book, and I got the first page of art from Luke Stone. I was like, this is a short story. It actually could be a comic, And I found 3 different artists. Luke Stone and Mark Hatherley are the 2 that like stuck. And if this succeeds, I could adapt the 3rd story from my Amazon book. But I digress. Found Luke Stone. We hit it off right away. Like, the dude's an awesome guy. I sent him over the script that I adapted myself, more free. If you're a writer, you can write a script too, right? I think a lot of like prose writers are turned off by other forms of writing. Like, I gotta pay somebody to do this, or pay somebody to translate that kind of thing. But you know, if you can write, you can write, and you just a few Google searches, you find everything you need to know. Look up some examples, just emulate the greats. But I digress. I got a couple pages of art, or a few pages, I should say, just off of the initial profits of Amazon Mortal Descent on Amazon, my book, and with that initial, you know, boost of art, I was able to contact Richard from Anvil magazine, and because I shopped artists around smart, I was smart with the artist I chose. He was excited to see a comic from Luke Stone, and he had seen enough from me from like, he's the guy who did the prompt initially, so he had read the story already and was like and imagined what that comic would be like from Luke Stone, and it was just I made a smart decision and shopped the comic around in the right place, and it got it published. Which, I mean, once Anvil magazine picked up the idea, there was enough resources to finance the rest of basically a 15-page preview. I mean, admittedly I did end up uh, investing a little bit of my own money into it, but that's just to keep up with deadlines, right? I could have agreed to a smaller page count and then just used the exact amount of money that Anvil gave me, and made that many pages for my preview. But me and Richard both wanted to see 15 pages of it, so he got excited, I got excited. But anyway, you you take that 15-page preview, you have more than enough to demonstrate to the world like what the whole graphic novel might end up looking like, because it's only going to get better from the preview, and that's the starting off point, right? So once that was established, I was aware of what like me and Luke have here, and I'm like, instead of just doing one issue at a time, let's just do the whole thing. Let's just It's a finished story. Why dwell on this for so long, right? Like, let's just get the full graphic novel. Let's go. And this will be my first official comic, holding it in my hands, right? I count Anvil magazine to an extent, but that's a different publication, and it's a magazine, right?
You kind of touched on it a little bit there. Uh, your background obviously has swung from a few different things in your time. So this idea of like migrating from prose to comics doesn't strike me as being like out of left field for you, because you know you're a writer now, but you've been a musician or are still a musician. Like you've just done things. Why don't you give us a little bit more background on you to kind of set the place for all this?
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, I've always been writing. I ever since playing like tabletop games with my friends in like high school, middle school. From there, and oh, the first one I ever played was Lord of the Rings ripoff D&D. It was Lord of the Rings, not D&D. It was just Lord of the Rings role playing, right? And and that got my first taste of like how that all worked, because it's like a familiar setting. I can understand this, and you just you get it down. But like I remember going home that night from my friend's house, and like stories were just going through my head, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And you combine that with things like video games, movies, and then specifically at the time, because technology wasn't exactly there yet on the internet, there was a big like popularity of like text-based online browser games. You go to like a website and it's nothing but text. It just describes like what's going on, but you could like log in daily and like attack your friend's castle and like get new fortifications and stuff. But the whole thing just cultivated my imagination like pretty strongly. And so like you combine the role playing games, video games, and like those like text based things. My imagination ran wild. I started writing. From there, like took classes in high school that seriously like creative writing in English, and got a job at the local newspaper as a columnist reviewing movies. I even had a press pass and everything. Like I could just walk into the movie theater, show them my press pass, and they were like, "Oh, hey, Andy," and I could sit there and watch 3-4 movies in a row and review them all. Um, but yeah, from there, I after high school went into music for like a decade. That's all indie, you know. I didn't realize how much like technical indie experience I had until coming into the Iron Age and really analyzing and kind of like trying this again, you know.